Welcome to today's channeled reading. This is going to be another one of those unusual readings, as it is channeled, revealed to me, if you will. So, I want to begin the conversation with the balance of the understanding of what the archetype, the theory, the metaphor of light and dark in the balance, in the yin and the yang symbol. What does the light mean and the dark mean to you on either side of it in its strength, as well as what it means in its smaller form, the dot, if you will, the dot of light and the dot of dark, and the opposite within the yin and the yang. What does this mean in your life to you? Do you want to be the yin and yang, to be completely light? Do you feel like it's in a state of being completely dark, like it's a solid dark circle or a solid white circle? What would that look like for you? How would you view that? How would you relate to that? Because if they were to be all dark or all light, it would be in and of itself toxic and unhealthy and thus bad. That's why the yin-yang is a symbol of balance. There needs to be some of both, present in both strength and to a lesser degree within each side. This is mirrored not just within our teachings as humanity, throughout many different metaphors and cultures, all the way back to indigenous peoples, regardless of where you are on the planet. It's also mirrored in our science. We are proving this in scientific theories that are proven, repeatable. So they are backing one another up. Ancient knowledge is being proven to be still true in our current scientific theory, which is a synchronicity that is not lost on me. It's very profound to have that mirroring or backing one another up. Now, this is all great and well. How does this relate to your life, your individual experience day to day? How do you ground this into your life and use it to your advantage to understand how to work with this in your life to create more balance? And it's through the questions that you ask yourself, and how even when you don't really want to answer the question because it's so charged, answering that question can bring you the healing you need. Letting yourself go there. Such as the predominant question for today's channeling is around looking at the void within you, that little, if you identify as the white side with the splash of dark, it's talking about what that splash of dark means to you, as well as if you identify with being the predominant void with that splash of light, what does that mean to you? So what do you fill that void with within you, whether that void is going to be the light or the dark splash within your side? And if you are feeling that you are whole within the yin and the yang symbol yourself, how do you relate to those two splashes within those predominant energies of yourself? Now, this can really take you to a place of a pretty emotional trip down memory lane, because that void, no matter how much you may want to give to beautiful, loving, happy, positive things, life happens. There's injustices that are visited upon us, regardless of our age, the time of our life. There are things that happen to us that are outside of our individual conscious control, which then leads you to the next deeper level, this concept of nothing happens in your life if you are awoken, or if you are aware that you create your own reality. Well, then you chose to have those things happen to you, so they're your fault. That has been something that has been, every now and then kind of thrown my direction with the, well, I'm just the NPC, so really you're in control of me, right? It's like, how arrogant are you in their statement, right? And my response to that is, you can choose to take the blue pill or the red pill yourself. That's your choice. I'm not responsible for your decisions. You are. You accrue your own karma. I'm in control of how I choose to react to my reality. That doesn't mean I'm in control of yours. I'm not accepting that responsibility. So if you have encountered that kind of a feeling before, now in this channeled experience here, this channeled need to go into and question these things, this invitation to do so, there is healing in this. It's going right into the heart of the poison to deliver the antidote. Okay? That's what this is about. Because by looking where you don't want to look, you can change everything right at the heart of it, and it all cascades from there. Those things that were done to you in your life that were unfair, they were unjust, especially when you were innocent and naive and young and pure and had no say. Maybe there's even things that your brain just won't let you remember. That later in your life, some of these things have come to light, or you're understanding them as you go through this spiritual journey as part of that journey, like part of why these things happened or why you remember them the way they did. They're coming to light as you go through this journey. And that is why there is this, you are a spiritual warrior. It is not for the faint of heart to do this work, to do the shadow work. But I will tell you this, on the other side of this, there is freedom. There is a freedom to not continually be stuck in a state of repeating these cycles. There is freedom from this. Liberation from survival mode, victim mode, like liberation from those two, you're going to be owning, thriving, because you're not still living in any way in victim or surviving. You're fully owning that thriving. So, what do you create with this part of you, this splash of dark, this splash of light? What do you put there? What do you label that as? How do you relate to that? And, really it would make a very logical thing given what this process is for. Sometimes, like, depending on where you are on your journey and who you are and your unique experience, what you put there could be something that you feel isn't really you putting it there, that it comes from there. That you associate that splash of dark with possibly very negative experiences, or that splash of light with very positive experiences that cause a lot of pain, depending on how you relate to this and where you are in your journey. That is where it takes courage. This is going right into that heart. Now, in that space of, and I highly recommend that you write this journal it out so you can see it outside of yourself, you putting it outside of you. If it's something that writing isn't your deal, maybe you have something that reminds you of these things. And you could take it and you can run over it and then back over it again and drive right back over it again. Something that symbolizes you saying no more. Something that says this is outside of me and it holds no power anymore. It is not of me anymore. And these are exercises, things that you can do, and definitely, if this is not exactly what you want, like right now you're getting an intuitive guide to do, a little nudge to do this or to do that. That is your spirit team stepping in and guiding you towards what they know will help you. Listen to that intuition. These are just examples, but it is about putting it out there so it's not stuck inside of you. Probably the biggest part of this is in doing this, you're able to move into, well, this is what happened. This is why it was unjust, why it was unfair, why it was cruel to me, and why you then can open into the state of what you would want instead. Because you're saying, this is not what I want. I do not want to live this cycle anymore. The cycle is done. It's done. I'm so over it. I'm so beyond it. And these are the reasons why. The reasons why it's unacceptable. Why I do not continue to give my power to this. You're labeling it as unacceptable. You could then move into what is acceptable. So if you have experienced, a lot of real suffering in whatever area it may be, to know that you want your karma to come in, because you haven't gone bitter in this journey. You've still been willing to see, still been willing to feel, regardless of which side of the yin-yang symbol you identify with the most or the whole. You still have been open to love, light, positivity, all of that. You've still been open to that. You've kept your light on, right? There's karma in that, because that's not easy to do. Especially when you are surrounded by a bunch of injustices that have been done to you, when you couldn't protect yourself or defend yourself. And they've been repeating through your life as you've gotten older and you're an adult. And then you hit this spiritual awakening journey, and you're becoming even more aware of exactly how unjust it has been. The collective that is tuning into this, you have been calling for justice. You have been calling for this to be balanced. Your soul, your feelings, your emotions, your intuitive aspect to you, your thoughts, you've been saying it, you've been walking it. The divine hears you. The divine hears you, and this is a way of helping you ground that justice into your reality. This is an answer to help you, as the very 3D conscious personality experiencing this, to really own that justice as being here now. Going through this is helping you to flip that switch within you on all of those levels and own that it is your reality now. I have encountered, and I'm sure you guys have too, the talking of the earth elevating to a higher 5D, that there's these splitting of timelines. A pretty major one where Gaia comes with us to the higher timeline, but there's a whole world that's left behind where Gaia isn't as present or not present at all. There's that switch, that very definitive, and however you relate to that, to you and your truth with that, because we're all at a different spot and we all have something unique to contribute. Thus, we're all aware of our role within that, our unique contribution to that. This decision for calling for justice and how you handle that justice. Handle is relate to it. So how you handle that justice. Your calling for the justice is you going, you know what? I'm choosing to go to the higher timeline, because I don't deserve to be at this lower timeline reliving these cycles over and over and over and over and over again, because I'm aware that I deserve to not be in this space, that I deserve more, that I'm not bitter. My light is on. I deserve to acknowledge to myself that I don't want to stay in this space. And because you're aware of that, you're not aware of that by chance or by accident. That is the divine in you saying, come with, these others that are raising their vibration by owning that they don't need to be stuck in this cycle anymore, that they can raise above it. So in calling for that justice, what would that justice look like to you? So say you have been, you felt other on the outside, bullied a lot, not accepted by groups of people. The majority of your life you've been kind of on the periphery. Well, the justice for that, for you, your side of it, would be to find possibly yourself feeling accepted, in a group of people for being you, for being unique, for being yourself. That could be your justice, your karmic justice, right? Because you didn't close your heart and you stayed an example of what it is to have light in you to all those that were being cruel to you in spite of how cruel they were being to you. That takes strength, and that light being left on during those experiences calls in at this point when you ask for this justice to actually have the interactions and experiences that you've desired that are the opposite of what you have experienced, right? For those that are left behind, that is their choice. They choose to continue to remain in those cycles, reliving them. And they come to them in different people, but it's the same dynamic. That is their decision. It is not necessarily yours. However, if there were to be a negative consequence that you could speak to in any way towards those that have harmed you and have continued to harm you, it could be something that really is not about them. It's about you. You could speak to like them not having your energy, access to your energy could be their karma, could be the justice, because then they would have to move through their own experiences without having access to your light. They'd have to figure out how to nurture their own, which in many ways is a very loving thing to do. Now, that being said, if they're capable of doing that, they can still raise up to the higher timeline. If they're capable of finding that light and nurturing it within themselves because you're not there providing them that constant, that constant connection to that through you, it could be a very loving thing what's happening there. But it all goes down to their choice. And you are not making the choice for them. You're making the choice about your energy, your life, and where you want to give to. And that you don't want to keep reliving these cycles. So that being the shift for you. Depending on where you are in this decision process, it's possible you've already made this shift and you're getting validation right now. It's possible that there have been some triggering moments in this channeling, but I promise you, you go through this internal questioning, your spirit team will be surrounding you and helping you move through it. You're not alone. You are protected. You are safe, but it is necessary to go into the heart of this for yourself, to shift how you feel about it, to reclaim your power. The remaining in this cycle is unacceptable. Owning that, because in every single situation, we're all living in multiple different timelines. We're all tapped into our higher selves. Like your higher self already is living this shift. So you've already owned this. So you have all the support you need to secure that future. You're perfectly safe when you go into this. Perfectly safe to go into this. And find that power. Deliver that antidote to yourself. It's a very loving thing, this investigation, this question that is being, channeled for me to really speak to for you guys. I will say, too, that there can be somewhat of a delay as the processing through your different layers of self filters through. For example, I'd say it was like, a little bit ago, maybe a little over a week or so, I was just doing something random out in the public, and they were like moving things in the business that I was in, and I meant to make a comment to somebody and kind of like lighthearted, oh yeah, it's hard to find things, now that they've been moving things, but I found myself saying, oh yeah, it's interesting in this new earth. And I was like, what did I just say? Why did I just say that? It was like the moment where things shifted. It was a reassurance. It was a validation. a moment of awareness. As these things filter in for you, your higher self may have come back to let you know something like that in some little tiny way. It's just getting from point A to point B that's not always the most comfortable, because you have to do the work. Even though you know that you're going to be on the other side of it and you're going to be experiencing it and it's going to be fine, it's getting from where you are in that moment to living that can be a little more intense. We'll say intense. But this question, this line of questioning for you, it may be emotional, it may be triggering, and in that there's healing. You have to open the wound to get the pus out, to get the infection out. You have to open it. To heal it, you have to go into it. Otherwise, you're walking around with this wound that is always open and never healing, and scarring and rescarring and scarring and rescarring. And the solution is here. Your answer, your justice is here. And this is that. This is that. To go into this as a unique aspect of the divine, a unique spark and a unique light of the divine, and answer these questions, because the antidote is within these answerings. And don't force yourself, don't rush yourself. Do this, in your own time, as you feel is the right time for you to do so. And I do want to say that if you need any additional support, any additional help going through this, if you don't have anyone around you going through this that you could speak to, that understands some of these things, if you don't have like a counselor or something like that, if you have any means with which to get access to some kind of support, if you need it, I highly recommend you reach out for that. I really, really do. This is not an easy path for people to walk. It's very scary and intense, especially if you're alone. And I will speak to this just because I feel I have a responsibility, an ethical, moral responsibility. If you do find that you need that and you don't have that access in your circle around you, your family, your friends, you're isolated, you're alone, there are ways to get access to a counselor at the very least. And I will say that because that's somebody who will listen to you. They are for you. They're not for anyone else in your life. They have no agenda other than to help you be happier and healthier and more stable and hear you. If you do encounter someone in this position that has not honored that stance, because that's their role, period. They have not honored that, they're not the person for you. And that's okay. They're for somebody else. They're not for you. It's not personal. They don't represent every single counselor out there, just like any doctor. It's always wise to get a second opinion. And if you don't vibe with the doctor, you need a different one. You need to be able to be at ease when you're going to someone for something that requires them to have an expertise to help you heal. It doesn't matter the specialty. So I do want to place that in there ethically and morally. This is not a path that is easy, and it is completely normal and human to need another human being to talk to about it. The other thing is with counselors from, they're not necessarily going to jump into diagnosing or anything like that. As a counselor, they don't really get to do that. That would be a completely different level or title of education and legal and responsibility and yada, yada, yada. As counselors, they're there to help you. As like a psychologist, a psychiatrist, that's a totally different thing. As a counselor, they're going to be there to help you. And if you need that, I really recommend you reach out to that, because this is not easy. And we are human. We do need human interaction. We do need that social aspect. So if you are in a state of being so completely isolated in this, that is a space that they are legally and morally bound to not share anything you discuss. And they're there for you, period. 100% you. They're not there with anyone else's agenda. They are in your ballpark, and only your ballpark. And with all of that, I believe that that's kind of where they want me to leave that, to go into this and answer these questions in your own time with the support necessary, should you need so, to know that you're delivering that antidote in that space. And if you do have a counselor or someone you can trust with this, to do this process, and then have them kind of maybe help you understand a bit more of all the ways in which this is tipping over dominoes in your world, from feeling stuck in a cycle to being empowered into a new, to experiencing the opposite of what you have been. I want to thank you very much for listening, and I do really hope and pray that you know that you're not alone. You know that there are others going through this, and that we're all helping one another as we go through this in the collective aspect. As one of us heals and liberates and calls for this justice and begins living it, more and more of us will begin to do the same. And if you guys wanted to begin, in the comments communicating and making friends and supporting through community through this page, do so, because to have that validation that you're not alone is huge. So the divine within me honors the divine within you. Namaste.